Something unheard of in the NFL to be a two-way player. Hunter was a star cornerback and wide receiver at Colorado, splitting his time evenly on both sides of the ball. He averaged over 111 snaps per game and earned the Heisman Trophy, but teams are still unsure whether he can handle the heavy load in the NFL. Our Mel Kiper Jr. and Field Yates released a 3-round mock draft with 9 days left until the draft. Yates kicked it off by selecting Miami quarterback Cam Ward, #1 to the Titans. Mel Kiper having the Browns select his #1 draft prospect, two-way star Travis Hunter at #2. All right, Stephen A. Marcus, hey. Are we taking Travis Hunter for granted? Marcus, I'll go to you first.
Listen, Molly, I talked about this yesterday. We were going through the show, and I was just thinking about, like, how spoiled we are with such phenomenal athletes, right? We had Tom Brady play into his 40s. We got LeBron James playing into his 40s and playing at a very high level. We see a bunch of these quarterbacks in the NFL. We see NBA guys like Steph playing forever. We see Ovechkin break Wayne Gretzky's record. And I'm looking at a guy that could be a potential top 5 pick on offense or defense in the NFL draft. And all we keep talking about is Shedeur Sanders. And I get it, y'all. You know we've been in TV for so long, and I understand ratings. I understand what people want to hear. But I wanted to have this conversation with Stephen A. and the American public, as he likes to say, and ask one, have we gotten to a point where we just take certain things for granted when it comes to sports? I don't remember the last time, Stephen A., we've had an athlete, a football player, come out of college where he could legitimately be a top 5 pick at wide receiver or a top 5 pick at defensive back. And really, I'm just talking about media, us in sports media overall. Are we not, one, taking Travis Hunter for granted? But more importantly, are we spoiled? Do we look at this the wrong way? Is it some fly-by-night thing now that a guy can be this phenomenal and this great coming into an NFL draft, and we really don't talk about him? We kind of treat it like a foregone conclusion. He's going to go #2 overall in talking about his greatness and what he's been able to do up until this point.
Well, it's a couple of things. Number one, we're addicted to the quarterback position. So anytime we see a wide receiver or anybody else for that matter, if you're not a quarterback or you're not an elite pass rusher, then you're one of the few of several marquee athletes who are going to bless us with your exploits on a National Football League level. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that, you know, when you talk about us being spoiled and not appreciating the athletes enough, I think that's taken all wrong. If I'm discussing you, and this is an argument that I've had, whether it's the GOAT conversation or some of the great players or whatever it is that we're discussing, Marcus, if I'm talking about you and you play the quarterback position, and I'm debating whether you're better than Tom Brady, you're in the discussion as one of the greatest who's ever lived. And unfortunately, in the times that we're living in, it's played in reverse. And if you want to know where I'm factually correct, take a look at YouTube. We're debating right now. Marcus Spears destroyed Stephen A. Stephen A. destroyed Marcus Spears. The word destroyed feeds the algorithm. All right, what the hell were they arguing about? Let's click on, let's find it. More clicks, more revenue for the person who created the content. And all they did was use a word to try to hook people in and try to create a level of cynicism. You look at the news story, you look at the news reports or whatever. What does the news lead with? They lead with the negativity. What do they say? Negativity sells. But in the same breath, why are we so negative? But they lead the damn newscast with it every day. People
don't do this. Don't do this. Your head coach and general manager on the hot seat. Why on God's earth are you going to take a quarterback knowing that they're not in doing what's in the best interest of the kid, they're doing what's in the best interest of job security? It makes no sense. It is maddening. Maddening.
Interesting. Okay, I don't want to sidetrack our conversation. I will briefly say I have no idea what Evan Cohen is wearing. I assume all of you were thinking the same thing I was. I mean, that's harsh. Just ridiculous. But that's a whole separate thing. When you hear him, RC, when you hear Chris saying that, please don't do that in these circumstances, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think what he's saying is what we've been saying all morning. don't reach for a quarterback. Don't try to save your job with the quarterback. And if he's speaking to the general manager in particular, I think it's don't reach for the star power, or don't try to get back what you lost in Saquon Barkley by drafting a quarterback. You're not, and Peter talked a little bit about it earlier. He says no Giant fan is clamoring for Shedeur Sanders. But if you're John Mara, you have to realize, and you have to think back to what we saw on Hard Knocks. He wasn't necessarily worried about the play on the field. He was worried about what it felt like to him. And if he goes into this draft with feelings, he could force Joe Schoen and he could force Brian Daboll to make a mistake. I think that's why they're doing their due diligence on Shedeur Sanders. They want to make sure that whatever pick they make at 3 is the best for the organization, not the best to keep their jobs.
I thought that too. I had that thought as we've been having this conversation about this Thursday, this sort of surprise, late scheduled Thursday meeting with Shedeur and the Giants. That thought did go through my mind. This could be John Mara telling his guys, listen, whatever it is you decide to do here, you just make damn sure you are 100% certain about what that decision is. In either direction, that could help explain this last meeting.
Couple quick thoughts on wrapping on that. I mean, you think about Hard Knocks. We talk about that moment with Saquon. I also think of Joe Schoen's kid on the couch being like, you should take Jayden Daniels. Go get Jayden Daniels. Like, they missed on 3 different quarterbacks because they didn't have the draft ability to do it from where they were drafting from. They get Malik Neighbors, who ends up being a wonderful wide receiver, who would be the #1 wide receiver by a landslide in this draft. If you see a quarterback that you think can match with him, you can take him. The issue is at number 3. Remember, this very same organization decided not to draft Micah Parsons. They traded back, they picked up a pick, and they ended up getting Kadarius Toney, who's no longer there. If you pass on Abdul Carter for a quarterback that you kind of like and you're taking a risk on, you don't want to make the same mistake twice. And I know quarterback's probably more important in a lot of people's eyes. It's not. Abdul Carter could be one of those generational players. You don't pass on him for a roll of the dice at quarterback unless you love him. And quickly, Evan Cohen, I am dressed like one of the righteous gemstones today. Don't let this man say you look bad. I think you look just good, all right?
No, Evan looks like he's trick-or-treating as Don Johnson at Miami Vice, but that's a whole other conversation. We'll get the picture ready for it, and I'll show it to you again. And for those who may have missed that, because I was completely thrown by it. Marcus, but if I may, however, bring the conversation back to you here, that, it feels to me like, is the key point that we're making. The Giants last year, we believe, tried to trade up to get Drake May. They couldn't do it. They passed on J.J. McCarthy. They passed on Michael Penix. They passed on Bo Nix. Their stage is sort of set. Like, they don't have a future at quarterback. So addressing quarterback one way or another does make a lot of sense, whether you do it at 3 or you do it a different time.
Yeah, they have to address quarterback. Here's my rebuttal to Chris, and I understand what he's saying. You ain't got no damn job security anyway if you ain't got no quarterback. Right. I don't give a damn if you miss on the draft or you got one in the building. Like, do we think Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, or Tommy DeVito is going to save their job? Hell no. If you think Shedeur Sanders can raise the level of play at quarterback in the organization, it's not only good for Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, it's good for the organization. I don't know if that to be the case. I don't know if he's going to play better than a Russell Wood or play better. Well, I think he would play better than Tommy DeVito and Jameis. Jameis will have 3 games where he looked like he's going to be an all-pro, and then we know what happens. But ultimately, when you look at this decision that they have to make, and I'm in line with Peter from this perspective, right? Abdul Carter feels like a can't-miss prospect that's going to go and get you 12 to 15 sacks a year. And we know how dominant those guys are in the league, and we know how much they impact the game. The only person that they don't impact the game more than is the quarterback. Right. So the Giants are in a conundrum where they got to figure this out. Are they going to go with the safe pick, which is Abdul Carter, or are they going to take a chance on Shedeur Sanders potentially turning into their franchise quarterback? They took Daniel Jones at 6. We watched the Jets take Zach Wilson at 3. We've seen movies turn out to be different. We saw Lamar Jackson ass waiting in that green room forever. Right. You think that the Baltimore Ravens, they not excited and happy a lot of people passed on him? There'll be a team in this first round that'll be excited if the Giants pass on Shedeur. I just don't know at number 3 if you take that chance, if you think you got a can't-miss guy that can affect the quarterback every single Sunday.
We're going to find out. We'll keep a close eye on that meeting. By the way,
chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là cà chua. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là cà chua xanh. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nhé. Mọi người đây nha. Đây. Tiếp tục sẽ làm màu trắng. Đây nha mọi người. Đây là mọi người. Tiếp màu vàng. Tiếp màu vàng.